So what's the smoke monster? I think it's nightmares plus trees.
How come you guys killed off Mr. Echo?
Please don't talk about loss.
You're listening to Binnall of America Audio.
What about the polar bears? On an island? It's nonsense.
And then to sort of wrap up the youth and ufology discussion, talk about your experience as a young person getting into ufology and paying your dues and that sort of thing, and the people who were influential in helping you out.
It was tough. I don't want to sugarcoat something that doesn't deserve the sugar. It was not an easy thing to try and get acclimated into the UFO community and to show people, hey, I've got something to offer. Mm-hmm. Stanton Friedman was one of the first people that I went for contacted him, and he was just awesome when I contacted him. He, was very encouraging and pretty much told me to stick with it and sent me some of his research articles and, didn't charge me a dime for it. And he was really one that motivated me, that said, hey, there's something here and the community welcomes the newcomers. Yeah. But on the contrary, when I started, before I started the Black Vault, just kind of searching UFO sites and so on and so forth, you get that reality that if you're 15 or 16 or a teenager and you're interested in the UFO topic and you go and ask questions, the people are like, they don't want to hear it. Yeah. That they've been in it for a long time and they're so much better than you are. And that was a very hard thing to handle because I knew that I was very motivated to do this, but how can you get motivated when a lot of people just didn't, give you the time of day? Mm-hmm. So, and probably that's true with any field, but more so with UFOs because you kind of take it personally. You're like, well, wait a minute, I really want to add something to this, and no one cares. Yeah. In the same respect, that there has been 60+ years of research into this topic, so you have a lot to catch up on. Yeah. And that's another hard challenge, in that you've got to catch up on that 60 years of research on what people know and don't know, because if you start going to the message forums and throw something out that is pretty common to you and I, but you haven't heard it every day, or you put a theory out there, I don't agree with this, but a lot of people are going to dismiss you, go, I'm a newcomer, who cares, and they're just not going to care with what you have to say. Yeah. That's another hard thing to know, and I wish the UFO community would get over that because, in 60 years, they've had the opportunity to come up with something, definitive, and they haven't done it yet. So let's welcome the newcomers because they're sorely welcome. And I don't think a lot of people realize that yet. So, we get beyond that. If you're a newcomer and you get in this and you start looking and researching, I find a lot of people remain quiet for 6 months. I don't recommend it. I recommend dialogue. Write me an email or write you an email or write anybody an email. Stanton Friedman is one that is notorious for responding to those emails and really kind of encouraging those who want to get into the field. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge, so I would highly recommend anybody writing Stan or myself. I mean, I love getting your emails and questions and, where I can point you to. And the message forums, I mean, when it comes to the Black Vault, I've got a message forum on there. It has, I don't know if I've reached 500,000. I'll check it right now as I'm talking, but it's got about 500,000 posts on the message board, and 500,000 things to read is a lot to read. So you could definitely keep busy there. But what's very cool about the people that go on to the Black Vault message forums is they're pretty open to hearing new thoughts, and they'll respond to you or point you to certain directions to kind of help you in your research. So, getting beyond that initial fear is the toughest challenge for anybody, and I'll tell you right now, it is not easy. Mm-hmm. It really isn't. Yeah. But I would tell you more than anybody, stick with it, because I was there, I've been there, I don't want to put anyone there, but I want to tell you that when you write the people in the UFO community that are the right people to write, like Stan Friedman, he'll help you. Yeah. And you will be guided, to where you need to be guided to. And then you're going to find your footing and then really kind of take it from there.
Exactly.
And kind of be on your own. And it's a very good feeling when you come up with something or research something or put in the time to research something that no other researcher has done or has the ability to do, because you get involved with MUFON and you start going to these local areas and local chapters of the MUFON organization, Mutual UFO Network. You start getting into that, you'll start coming across cases that really it's only that particular group that will investigate it. And if you're the only one that cares to go out and do it, you're the only one in the field out of the whole world that's going to go out and do it.
Yeah.
And so that fact alone shows that you can make a difference. So get past how old you are. Just know that it's going to be tough and brace through it. Know that we don't have an answer yet. Be tough, brace through it, and know that you may not be accepted in open arms, which I hate to say because I wish it was different. It's just the way it is with some of these guys who have been in this field for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
They may not write you back, or they may not return your call, or whatever it may be. Just bear through it.
Yeah.
Go show them who you are and what you can contribute, and I guarantee you'll be one of the top names in the field, and you'll be running your own show, and then hopefully you'll have one of us on your shows.
I can totally identify with how you sort of described that evolution there, because that's kind of how it's been here for Binnall of America. We started out, we were beating down doors to try and get guests, and now, we're getting people trying to contact us to be on the show, so it's a complete 180, and you get your face out there, and you put in the legwork, and after a while, people will recognize you and recognize your work. It's not like you're the newcomer anymore, now you're part of the club. And it just sort of happens. It just sort of happens.
And I'd love to point out that it really is like that anywhere. It's not that the UFO topic sucks, and that, wow, boy, those guys, they want to know the truth and they don't welcome anybody in their field. I guarantee that if I went out there and tried to say, hey, I know the cure for cancer and this is why I know it, that, the scientific community is either A, going to ignore me and delete my emails, or B, going to laugh at me and point fingers and go, look at this idiot.
Yeah.
So it is like that anywhere that you go. It's just the UFO topic can really welcome a wide array of people. And that's why it really kind of goes under a lot of scrutiny, because it can welcome so many people.
Yeah.
But then again, so many people find that rejection. As bad as it is to use that word, they find that rejection. So then it's like, well, see, the UFO community doesn't care about the truth. They just don't want to welcome anybody. Well, no, it's like any scientific-based research community, that they want to welcome those who they know want to be in it.
Yeah.
So you do have to kind of earn your dues, but, it's absolutely well worth it.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you about is I saw this on theblackvault.com, and that's Project Preserve History. Now, I'm a huge UFO history fan. I really love learning more about the history of the UFO phenomenon. And I have a great appreciation that you also are interested in the history of the UFO phenomenon, because part of the burden that you and I face is that we're going to have to tell the stories of these people who have come and gone and who are going to go and leave the field to the great beyond. We're going to be tasked with keeping alive their legacy. So let's talk about Project Preserve History.
Sure. Project Preserve History was something I started a couple years ago, and it really was for what you just mentioned, in that it was for the love of history that I have, not only for the UFO topic, but beyond. And what I realized was when you search the Internet, you see a lot of the same rehash stories, the same stories that you hear over and over and over, and there's value to it to an extent, but there wasn't a whole lot of historical value. It was just, again, the same repeated stories. And what I found out by some gracious visitors to my site was that I was getting these donations of magazines and newspaper clippings and stories and all this stuff, and I realized that there's so much history out there that we're not hearing about. We see the Roswell Daily Records news article in 1947 about the Roswell incident, or we'll see a couple headlines about the Phoenix Lights, or and granted, you can find a lot more, but there is 100 times more than that that has been published and put out there into the world that really never sees the light of day. Because granted, that newspaper is published on Monday. By Tuesday night, it's in the fireplace.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's starting your kindling for your fire. So a lot of those stories are lost, and people were donating these old magazines that were 60 years old. And,
oh, wow.
Just immense amounts of data that was coming in. So Project Preserve History is one that I'm very behind in doing, but I'm planning on archiving and scanning these newspaper articles and books. One of the things that I got was a first edition George Adamski book.
Oh, wow.
with his first book, and forgive me because I'm drawing a blank on his on the title of his first book. But anyway, it was Adamski's first book. And I was sent the first edition of it with the book cover still attached, published, about 60 years ago or whenever the actual publication date was. And it took me about a year to realize, but sure enough, when I started flipping through it, when I was going through some stuff, it was actually autographed by Adamski.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, wow, that's such a treasure of history in the UFO field. It's like you wonder how many things are out there that will never, ever see the light of day, or when certain ufologists pass away, and then those things are donated either to a family member who doesn't care, and either they throw them out or sell them on eBay, or donate them to a university or whatever they may do, and then they just disappear. And Project Preserve History is the effort to bring those things to the internet, to where you can look at those things and see the value of the history behind it, and have it not sit in somebody's filing cabinet or just die in the progression of time. I don't want that to happen. So Preserve History is that effort to collect those things. I've got hundreds of articles, books, magazines, really old copies of Fate magazine that really are very, very rare. I've talked to the owner of Fate magazine, and apparently there was a fire many, many years ago with the Fate magazine headquarters, and many of the issues were lost.
Oh, wow.
And so Phyllis Galdi, who is the owner of Fate magazine, and I were very close friends, and I told her that we have to sit down, and I want to invite her over. She's going to be in L.A. In the next couple of weeks. Invite her over so she can look at some of the old issues of Fate magazine that I have to see, because she's still missing some of the ones that were lost on the fire. So those types of things are definitely valuable in this field. There was one collection that I saw on eBay one time, I recollect probably about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, before I even started this project, on eBay, and it was three-ring binders that were from a ufologist that I had never heard of, and I don't think the field has really heard of that much, not anybody that's prominent in the UFO history. And were all these UFO research projects that he conducted on his own, with samples from dirt and vegetation samples and everything that were pasted into this notebook. Three of them, three of these three-ring binders, and it was the guy passed away. He passed on his information to someone else, and they put it on eBay and tried to make money on it. And I told them I would make payments. I would do anything it took to get these things, because obviously, that kind of stuff is so rare. Yeah. And they just did not go for it, and they just wanted to make their money and never heard from them again. So it's those types of things that you never hear about in the UFO circle that I'm trying to preserve, and hence Project Preserve History was born.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, the UFO field, it tends to live in the now, it seems, in times, and I think a greater appreciation of the history of the UFO phenomenon. I'd like to see that come about in the next decade or so.
Absolutely.
And also, the other big thing I want to talk to you about from the blackvault.com is the rebirth of Black Vault Radio Network.
Yes.
As you said, you just got it up and running in the last week. You've already got 3 episodes. You're making me look bad here, John. No, I'm just teasing. You had Stan Friedman, James Carey on. We had him on recently too. He's a great guy. I'm looking forward to what he has up his sleeve for the upcoming year or so. And, of course, you just said today you posted Richard Dolan, or yesterday. Talk about the Black Vault Radio Network. What made you decide to bring it back, and what can we expect from BVRN?
Sure. Black Vault Radio was something I started a few years ago, and it actually even goes before Black Vault Radio even existed, to Millennium Mysteries, which is a radio show I co-hosted with Dr. Roger Lear on a radio network, and he and I worked together. And did X amount of shows. I forget how many we did, and I took a break and then came back. The network asked me to come back. I did my own show for a little bit, and it just kind of progressed from there. But last year, I started the Black Vault Radio about a year ago, and did some shows at home. Did it on the cable radio network CRN, which was the radio network that was carrying it, and then went off to pursue some other syndication deals. And this huge technological problem arose that I couldn't do any more shows, and then I got really busy with some History Channel shows that I was working on, and then subsequently a National Geographic Channel show. Yeah. So long story short, there was an unplanned one-year hiatus to the Black Vault Radio. Although these things were being hit from all over the world, downloaded and so on, and I was seeing that so many people wanted the show to come back, and finally at the first of the year was my plan. About last November, I started booking guests, and the first of the year was my plan on the relaunch, and sure enough, it came back, and it's stronger than ever. I mean, it's getting reviews, great reviews from across the world. It's been streamed by people in 10 different countries and 20 different states in the United States, and it's just 7 days in. So the response has been overwhelming to the shows. And like you mentioned, Stanton Friedman was on, James Carrion, which was my first guest for the relaunching. I have a huge respect for MUFON and his vision for the future, so I chose him as my premier guest for the relaunch show. And today, the show that went live was with Richard Dolan on the 9/11 conspiracy. And I do not personally believe that it was an inside job or that there was a government cover-up, and Rich is on the opposite end of the scale, that he believes absolutely it was an inside job. And we both, I think, agreed that there were some unanswered questions, but we kind of had a healthy dialogue about the conspiracy and what it is to believe or not believe into the 9/11 conspiracy. So I think we both asked very good questions to each other that could not be answered. And so we kind of had just kind of a healthy debate on that. And I've got some good shows already planned for the next couple of weeks, and that is the Black Vault Radio. It's going good. Every Tuesday and Thursday night, a episode will appear on the blackvault.com. I don't have a set time necessarily. It kind of depends on the guest and so on, but generally every Tuesday and Thursday, a new episode will come online, and got a RSS feed for all those podcaster lovers out there. Yep. And just got approved iTunes. Just approved Black Vault Radio. It is for free. You can subscribe for free, but it's all via iTunes, so you can get that on your iPod and all that good stuff. And on top of all that, I'm very happy to say that 87.9 Radio Metal Storm, headquartered in Connecticut, but also airing in Massachusetts and also New York, is syndicating the Black Vault Radio. Oh, wow. So on a FM station over there, 87.9. So very happy to say that it is very successful in just the first week that people are listening, tuning in, downloading the shows, and looking forward to the next episode.
Awesome. What can we expect from you in the coming year? Anything you want to plug here or stuff that you want to mention that's coming up?
Sure. Well, Black Vault Radio, obviously, every Tuesday and Thursday is coming up, and very excited to have that stay on the air this time and have no technological hiccups. I worked all those out. Documents are coming. I've got a full filing cabinet, 4-drawer tall filing cabinet, full of documents. I cannot fit a single page in this thing that are waiting to be scanned and put on the Black Vault. So however many thousands of pages that is, those are awaiting to be on the Black Vault. And I've also got hundreds of requests to almost every corner of the government on FOIA requests for new documents on top of those. So, it's a very it's a very big goal to set if I say I want to take my almost 500,000 pages and turn them into 1 million over the end of the year. But I'm hoping that there is a way to do that. So my goal is to really kind of shoot for hitting the 1 million document mark by the end of '07, and really just kind of continue and just hopefully satisfy the audience to the Black Vault. It grows every day. About 10,000 people every day are now logging on to the blackvault.com, downloading documents. Hundreds of thousands of files are downloaded every month. The statistics are overwhelming on what is being downloaded and what is being seen on that site. So I just hope that continues. I want to double my documents. I want to double my traffic and just see where it takes me and see what '07 will bring me and kind of take it one day at a time.
Awesome. Any TV specials that you worked on here that we can expect to premiere anytime soon, or is that also sort of in the pipeline?
Well, one is going to be re-airing in case anybody missed one of my last History Channel shows. It was called UFO Files Alien Encounters. I did not choose that original title. That's one of the things that you got to deal with as a television producer, is that those people that get paid more and are smarter than you are will rename your project. And that actually did happen at the end of the show. But Alien Encounters, we don't really talk about aliens. It's more so about the trace evidence and Ted Phillips' work and his work over the past 40, 50 years in the UFO realm, and his work in trying to show that there is an immense amount of scientific data when a UFO allegedly lands and or appears, that what he calls the trace evidence. He goes out and investigates and has over 3,000 sightings. He's actually going to be on the Black Vault Radio later this week. That's Thursday's episode.
Awesome.
And we're talking about really what we talked about on the television show, and the trace evidence, these cases that have an overwhelming amount of unexplained scientific evidence. Last year I produced this show, again, called Alien Encounters. Will be airing on the History Channel, so make sure you check your listings. Tune in. It's an excellent show. Ted was very, very happy with it. The UFO community has been very, very happy with it. And they're just, overall, I think very excited to see something that takes the UFO topic seriously.
Yeah.
And that's what Alien Encounters did. Another show that I co-produced with another producer, Dwayne Tudall, he wrote that one. I wrote Alien Encounters. He wrote this one, was called UFO Files Hangar 18. And this was all about the legendary Hangar 18 that has existed in the UFO topic for quite some time. So we kind of dissected the Hangar 18 conspiracy. We actually went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I kind of scored that that to get onto the base and actually see what's going on over there. That was a very big treat for me and Dwayne. And he did an excellent job putting the show together. He also directed that show. He did a very, very good job. And that as well has received very, very good reviews from the UFO community. So again, I co-produced that with Dwayne. He wrote it, and then produced and wrote Alien Encounters. I don't know when Hangar 18 is going to be re-airing, but they air those things all the time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Do you find that they, because I was on Christmas Day, I think, I was watching the History Channel, and they had like 7 or 8 UFO file episodes in a row. Do they just replay?
Yeah.
They replay them a lot.
Yeah, exactly. They were they were doing a marathon on the 24th, 25th.
Yeah.
So you probably saw a couple of my shows.
I think I probably did, yeah.
6 hours of them so far. So I know that they were in rotation around the 24th, 25th, and they love those things because again they pull big ratings for the History Channel. So
exactly,
they're gonna love
exactly. Put on your TiVo and definitely look for Alien Encounters and Hangar 18. Those are 2 that you produced, and check out your MySpace page where there's a whole list of programs that you've been a part of. They can track down and watch.
Absolutely.
All right, well, John, we've talked for a very long time here, and I really appreciate you giving me so much time. I want to get you on the show to talk about all this great stuff. You've had just an amazing career as a researcher, 10 years, and you've done so much stuff, and I just really, honestly, without blowing smoke up your posterior here, I really do admire your work a lot, and a lot of what goes into Binnall of America is certainly inspired by the blackvault.com and the way that you've made Black Vault a brand as far as producing quality information for people who are interested in the UFO phenomenon. I just hold that in tremendously high regard. And hopefully this is the beginning of a long friendship here in the UFO field, and you and I are going to be bumping into each other for decades to come at various conferences and what have you, and I wish you the best of luck in your work. And thanks again for coming on the show.
Absolutely. I'm sure we will become good friends and bump into each other quite a lot, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
There you have it, folks. That does it for this week's edition of Binnall of America Audio. Big thanks to John Greenwald for taking so much time out of his busy schedule and joining us here on the program. Of course, you can find out more information on John Greenwald at blackvault.com, BLACKVAULT.com. It is an esoteric institution. If you haven't experienced it yet, definitely do so and check out blackvault.com. Moving right along now, in light of my sickliness this week, we're going to skip over Binnall of America Audio listener feedback. Quite frankly, I'm just kind of exhausted, so I don't want to shortchange a Binnall of America Audio listener with a half-assed edition of BOA Audio feedback. But, of course, there's much to talk about in the form of my debut as a esoteric radio guest on Red Ice Radio. The fantastic Henrik Palmgren of Sweden is the host of Red Ice Radio, which emanates out of redicecreations.com. He invited me on the program last week. We taped the interview yesterday, a 2-hour interview. The first hour is free on the Red Ice Creations website. The second hour is available to Red Ice Creations subscribers. Even if you don't want to join up at Red Ice, you can definitely still hear the first hour of the Binnall interview at redicecreations.com. That is totally free and available, and it will be posted there on February 11th, 2007, this Sunday. So chances are, by the time you're listening to me right now, you'll be able to download that interview. And just to give you a little thumbnail on what I was talking about, to be honest with you, it was my first ever interview, and I was kind of nervous. And of course, as I've noted numerous times here on this episode, I'm rather under the weather. So I think I was a little spaced out and rambling in the first few minutes or so, but then eventually I kind of settled down, and we talked about BinnallofAmerica.com, Binnall of America Audio, gave a little behind-the-scenes sort of look at it, some of the tenets of BinnallofAmerica.com, what we really are going for here at the website, and what our goals are. We talked about ufology, UFOs, my thoughts on the UFO field, and what I'd like to see become of it, various aspects of esoterica, my favorite UFO case, ideal Binnall of America Audio guests, just tons and tons of stuff. Henrik put me through the ringer on Red Ice Creations, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was like a bizarro edition of BOA Audio, where I get a chance to talk about a lot of stuff that I haven't had a chance to say on Binnall of America Audio, where, I defer to the guests and let them have their say, and on this episode of Red Ice, I'll get my say on some of the topics, and you may be surprised by some of my opinions. And if you want to hear the first ever Tim Binnall interview, go to redicecreations.com, redicecreations.com, Red Ice Creations, or simply go to binnallofamerica.com, look in the left-hand column on the homepage, and you'll see the headline, Binnall Speaks, and under that will be the link to Red Ice Creations, where the interview will be housed and posted and available for download. Definitely please check it out. I would really appreciate it if the Binnall of America Audio listeners would check it out and let me know what you think of it and let me know how I did. And feel free to voice your opinions on my first ever interview. I'm definitely interested to hear what the feedback on that's going to be. If you'd like to be a part of future Binnall of America Audio listener feedback segments on the program, there's a simple way to go about doing that. You either click the contact button at binnallofamerica.com. That's in the top right-hand corner of the screen. That will bring you to the page that has the email addresses to get a hold of me. Or you can simply write to boaaudio@hotmail.com, boaaudio@hotmail.com. Either one of those methods will put your correspondence on the road to being featured on Binnall of America Audio listener feedback when it resumes next week. Time now, of course, for the thanks. I would not be able to do this program without the help of the staff at binnallofamerica.com. They are the fuel that keeps the machine running. Leslie, Chiron, R. Lee, Joe V., and Ralph Molesworth. Thank you to the staff and the gang at binnallofamerica.com for your help and support. binnallofamerica.com, make it a part of your everyday search for esoteric news and opinion. If you're a long-time Binnall of America Audio listener, an appreciative newcomer, or you just have money to burn and you want to help support the audio series and the website, simply click the PayPal button at binnallofamerica.com and make a donation to BOA. Every little bit helps, every little bit counts, and all donations go towards keeping the esoteric think tank that is binnallofamerica.com up and running and producing the unique material that you can only find at BOA. So if you can, please do click the PayPal button and make a donation. Next week on Binnall of America Audio, Jerry E. Smith returns to the program. Last year we had Jerry E. Smith on for a two-part fantastic episode discussing the Spear of Destiny, the Holy Lance. Next week we're going to talk to Jerry E. Smith about his latest book, Weather Warfare, the Military's Plan to Draft Mother Nature. We're going to be covering environmental/weather modification from a ton of different angles. The rainmakers of the 1890s, UN legislation on environmental modification and why it's completely backwards and wrong and broken. The military studies on how to use weather as a weapon. In-depth discussion on HAARP and what it might be used for. Also, thorough conversation on the contrail versus chemtrail controversy and how it all might be related to controlling the weather. It is a totally fascinating edition, and it's yet another realm of the esoteric where BOA Audio will tread. We'll have a preview of Jerry E. Smith on Binnall of America Audio posted at BOA next week. I swear this time, I promise we'll have the preview posted. The preview for John Greenwald went down the tubes when I got sick, so I didn't have a chance to make it and get it out for you, but I'm expecting to no longer be sick by Monday, and we hope to have the preview up at BinnallofAmerica.com on Thursday. On that note, we call it a week here on Binnall of America Audio. Definitely check out Red Ice Creations for my very first interview ever. Until you hear from me next week, folks, thanks for listening. This is Tim Binnall, signing off.